Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back. I know it's been a while, but we're finally here. Been away, and certainly much has happened around the world in the meantime. And we're very happy to welcome you back to our league here and competitive Rainbow Six Esports. We really hope that you and your loved ones are staying safe and are healthy in these moments. Today, we're inaugurating the next step in Rainbow Six Esports, and it all starts here with the EU League. As you may know, one of the major changes that will come and are coming with Rainbow Six Esports in Europe and Asia Pacific, specifically APAC North, is a revamped viewing experience with a brand new broadcast studio live from Paris, France. Along with Ubisoft, we had hoped to start broadcasting from that studio for both EU and APAC North as soon as today, stage one, June 22nd, 2020. Unfortunately, things are a bit more complicated than that, and the health and safety of our staff is number one priority. And the decision has been made to delay the launch of that new studio until later in the summer, hopefully by phase two. We'll all be continuing to monitor the situation, specifically in Europe, as the situation evolves, and more information will be given on that very soon. So hopefully updates in the next few weeks. Nevertheless, as league staff, we're dedicated to bringing you the best show possible, and with all the new bells and whistles that we have here, as much as we can, working from home, it's time to kick things off. So, welcome one and all. It's time for EU League. I know everybody's so excited. I wish there was a studio around me where everybody can clap right now. You'll just have to imagine it in your head. New format for the league here in Europe and globally. As you saw in the video starting off in the beginning, you can find that on the R6 Esports channel on YouTube and even all over social media. It will be repeated multiple times during the stream. The season is now an entire year. It's divided into 3 phases for each region. This is what we're going to roll through here. EU will have these 3 phases with all 10 teams. Of course, they will play 9 times. Everybody will play one another and on this phase and the next one and the one after it. You win a game, you get 3 points, just as before. You tie, you get 1 point. You lose, you get 0, unfortunately for you. All of these points will make it so you can qualify to the major tournaments. 3 of them will be scattered around the year. One, unfortunately, has been canceled at the end of this summer, but there will be mini majors. So each region will have its own major that is locally governed. So we'll still get a lot of content regardless. And of course, all of that culminates in finals for the region. So EU League finals that we'll have hopefully later down in the year, and Six Invitational, the greatest stage of them all, and the World Championship. We hope to be there very, very soon. So this part is done. Talent, though, that's the next big thing. Our storytellers for this entire season, you'll be seeing more of them. It's Jess, the greatest of all time, Jess Goat. Zoronic, the bearded man himself, will be joining us later in this phase. Gio is joining the team here for a first time. Very happy to have her in here, as well as Dezichu. You heard him casting at Six Invitational. Great man to have here. Hap just finished his cast with Benelux League, and he is now with us. He can't run away this time. And of course, we'll finally be seeing him casting as well. It's Mr. James Stewart Dev Marta, who is in with us. So I'm very, very happy to introduce to you this wonderful team of very diverse characters that will be joining us and giving us their thoughts on each and every single one of these games. So, with our talent roster being presented, I think it's time for us to welcome our first 2 analysts for this evening. Some say that they're actually brother and sister. It's up to you to judge. It's Des and Jess. Good evening.
Brother and sister, let's go.
I can't believe I'm here with my brother. This is amazing.
Mom's cooking tea downstairs, so we're into a broadcast. Let's go. Tea's nearly done.
Yeah.
I hope that's not any sort of spike tea for this show. Otherwise, we'll be completely fine for this one, Des. I'm a big fan of tea myself. So let's start introducing things here with our rankings. Today, we're going to run everybody through some of the graphics that we have. That today, of course, they will have no stats on them. But as we continue, we're going to have all of those brought forward to you. So this is going to be super exciting for me. I know we've been waiting and working on this for so many months, and a huge team here between Faceit and Ubisoft. So let's start off with our rankings. You'll see all of the teams that are on there. 10 of them, of course, here in EU, which means we'll have 5 matches per day. Chaos is the first on this ranking sheet. Of course, everybody has 0 points. Jess, can you start off a few words here and there on Chaos?
Well, everyone knows Chaos has been in Pro League for a while. They've just brought in the gunner of Cryan, so I think we can expect big things from this roster now.
Looking at G2 as well. Next up on that list, I think if you've been in Siege for even a day, you'll have heard of this roster. Some massive changes to them recently with Virtue and Citizen joining the team. They are becoming the EU super team, but there's a lot of others snapping at their heels looking here to take that title away from them.
And then we're following that with Na'Vi. A lot of you will know Na'Vi from the Tokonami Japan finals. They absolutely ravaged their opponents there. They've been a little bit lackluster coming into 2020, so I bet you they're going to be coming back dominant as ever.
Some big titles on the side of Rogue as well. They're in a starting position where they have 3 players in their side, the original German roster, all holding major accolades from last season. Recently picked up Leon Gids and Karjeka from Team Empire. Leon, of course, coming from Team Secret. Another EU super team in the making? We'll find out today.
Talking about EU super teams, Team BDS, hailing from Switzerland. They're a full French lineup. They had a really good showing at SI 2020, but they've also had a little bit of a lackluster season throughout 2020. So hopefully they pick things up with their new addition of Bride.
Empire don't need much introduction either, I don't think. If you watch Sixth Invitational 2019, they made it all the way to the grand finals against G2 and just fell short. Looks a little bit shaky towards the back end of last year and the start of this year, but hopefully this is a fresh beginning for them and they can regain that position of dominance they once held.
We'll follow it with the new Team Secret, not to be confused with the old Team Secret. This is the full German lineup. They smashed through Challenger League, and they're hoping to do very well the same here in EU League. We'll see what kind of mark they make going into this new Tier 1 scene.
Yeah, formerly known as August as well, for those that may have seen them in Challenger League. We've then got Vitality, who sit in a position where they have been joined by arguably one of the most well-renowned names for good and bad reasons in the form of Fabian. Going to be very interesting to see what he brings to that side. This roster is one of the most diverse and also the most experienced. Like Chaos, they've kind of sat in the middle for quite a long time here. So I'd like to see them really pull ahead this season. And this is the roster to do it.
And then, of course, Tempra, the other Challenger League team, they were formerly known as Easy Dream. They're the full French lineup as well. I think they'll be looking to use their really tactical and coordinated skills to show their mark throughout this season.
And closing things out, there is Virtus.pro, the team formerly known as Force. They've been looking absolutely terrifying winning the European Open Clash 2 weeks ago. We're going to be very, very hard to bringing these boys down, as a lot of teams are, quite rightly so, very terrified of what they can bring to the table.
So that's all of our 10 teams. So a bit of a synopsis in all of those. We still have a couple of graphics to go through. As usual, there are moments for you to farm all of that Reddit karma, and this is the moment for it, basically, with the next 2 graphics. One of them is the first one here we're going to talk about, is our operator percentage picks. So with those picks, we'll be evaluating how things are between attackers and defenders. And through that, we'll determine the top 3 picked operators and see how this all ties into the metagame. We'll be analyzing those numbers because, let's be honest, numbers on their own are just boring. We want to give them the spice that they deserve and give them the context that they need. And this is why this crew is the best in the business for it. So this is one graphic. Another one is to talk more distinctly about the maps in the league. And we'll also be breaking things down on a site level, so site-by-site basis. The win rate is by pick, so it's a decider, basically. That's the win rate in total. And for the defense, that's where you'll be seeing those win rates for every single one of these sites. Now, again, when it comes to everything that you would like to see during the league and our breakdowns on the show, feel free to go to social media, on Reddit, on Twitter, wherever you want to be, and let us know what you'd like to see. And hopefully, if we can do it from home, we'll be doing it. And if we can do it later from the studio, then we'll try our best to bring it to you, because in the end, the show is for you to have fun, and we want to bring you the best that we can. So this part is now done. Let's move on to our next step, which is the schedule of the day. You saw there's 10 teams. What does that mean? 5 best of ones, 5 games that we're going to have to go through. And first one is the Spartak Dynamo of Russia. Big, big game. Virtus.pro versus Team Empire. It's pretty sweet, I have to say. I'm even trying to contain myself here. I'm stepping on toes on the analyst in this one.
Look, I'm really excited about Virtus.pro versus Empire. It's the two Russian machines. I mean, we can kind of term the Russian machine for Virtus.pro now, given how well they've done over the past 6 months. If anything, they're really, like you said, stepping on the toes of Team Empire. So I think they're both really rushing to the finish line to work out who is the best in Russia at the moment. I think this first game will be a big telling about where the teams are really at. But I think there's a lot of improvement that Team Empire can do now that they've brought on Always. Hopefully, however, Virtus.pro, they've had this roster for a little bit now. They should be coming in absolutely ready to go. We saw them in the Clash. That's obviously not too indicative of how well they probably could do in a Tier 1 proper setting, but we'll see how they go up against each other. I'm really excited. It's probably going to be my match of the night.
So that
one
is,
for
of
me, looking
course,
at that
was game number one. So our second one. Let's go ahead.
I was just about to say, in terms of that game as well, I know that, for example, VP haven't lost to Empire since November. So there's a lot of history kind of stacked between these two teams in terms of how it's going to shape up. It's going to be really tough. We then got Tempera coming up against Chaos, the first place Challenger League EU team, looking in pretty good form, but now stepping up into this upper echelon of competition. Chaos, what I've been calling for the longest time now in the Nordic Championship, for example, a journeyman team, 37 wins, 1 draw, and 38 losses in 2019. They sit in the middle of the pack in pretty much every competition you see them in. They've now got Crying on board. He's looking to add a lot of fragging capability to this team and essentially bring a new age to Chaos, which may yet see them rise towards the top, but they've got to start proving themselves against teams, I think, early on like Tempera, if they're really going to start taking that mantle in the top 3 or 4.
Yeah, look, I very much agree. I mean, the next matchup after that one will be Team Vitality versus BDS. I think a lot of people are really looking forward to that one. BDS has brought in Playday, and if you don't know who Playday is, that's fine. He's flown under the radar as a bit of a dark horse in the European League. He is one of the most known for their 1vx's. So if you're wondering why he's such a gunner, that's because if you put him in a clutch situation, I mean, Playday is 9 times out of 10 going to clutch it. So they've brought him in, they've replaced RX with him. And then on Team Vitality, there's even more roster changes. It's wild. They brought in, self-proclaimed best player in the world, Fabian, alongside Rise. So I think rather than just bringing in, Playday for BDS, that's a gunner, that's someone who works well under pressure. Team Vitality have brought in 2 really good leaders. So we'll see how that fares for them.
On the other side, you've got G2 versus Rogue. And G2, well, again, need no real introduction. They are standing up here as the first proclaimed EU super team. But Rogue, with their recent changes, are also kind of shaping up to contest that title, if not be EU super team number 2. They haven't had as long together. Got a bit of work to do, I think, to really gel a little bit more. There'll be a few rough edges, I think, going on here. But between the two of them, it is going to be an absolute belter of the Giants, I think, to really see who cements themselves as one of the front runners here in the EU League.
So I think we're pretty much ready to go. So let's game number 1, Team Empire versus Virtus.pro. And you see, as we talked about before, it's a 7-map pool, right? We have Oregon now in the pool. Theme Park was added in the latter half of our last season of Pro League, or final season of Pro League, that is. And here you'll see 7 maps with a final one that's a decider, which is the one that was picked in the end, because you ban until it's there. And Clubhouse will be that map. And honestly, Empire and Clubhouse is huge. Virtus.pro and Clubhouse is huge. They played this map multiple times against one another in the past. If I look at you for this one, Des, what do you think about Clubhouse in general, and then specifically how these two teams play it?
In general, it comes down to being a very strategical map, right? It's what everyone calls a checklist map. You have a number of mini games or steps that you need to go through before a very explosive end, I think, as Hat put it earlier on. Really nicely worded. You look at these two teams' history on it. In the last 3 months, we've seen Virtus.pro play it 4 times and win it 4 times. They've only banned it once. On Team Empire, they've played it 3 times and lost it every single time. This is one of the maps that coming into it, I thought we might see if it wasn't going to be something like Oregon or Theme Park, given we had a better time for teams to adapt to those now. But Club was the one that I thought seems like a pretty safe start. That, Consulate, and Coastline are the 3 maps you always look towards as the old school maps that teams are generally quite comfortable on. So I think Club makes a lot of sense. In terms of how they're going to play it, I know Virtus.pro like to come at you a lot harder and faster than maybe Empire will, but Empire are very well regarded as being the same strat over and over again to absolute perfection kind of team. So in their books, they're probably feeling pretty comfortable as well. Either way, with the way things are going to shape up, it's going to come down to 2 juggernauts again going head to head to see who's the winner.
I mean, that checklist kind of system that's been in Empire's head for so long, Jess, would you say that it's even costing them right now because it's been so ingrained and everybody's kind of figured them out?
Yeah, look, when they implemented Dan into the roster, I would say that sort of step-by-step process that we know them by actually, dissipated a little bit. I don't think that they were as stringent as they were back in 2019. And I just really don't believe that. And now that they've got sort of that new roster, that they're going to be as predictable as they once were. I'm hoping. But hopes don't really go very far, do we? We need to see that in action. And of course, if Team Empire want to get over the new Russian titans that Virtus.pro are, I mean, Derry said before, Clubhouse, that's not surprising. It actually surprises me a bit, given how well VP have done over the past 6 months in Clubhouse. I would have thought, there's 2 other maps which you could have taken them to, but maybe Team Empire have something up their sleeve. Maybe they're more well-oiled Russian machine than we're giving them credit for.
Now, it sounds like you two are kind of directing yourselves towards one team more than the other. This is the moment for me to kind of ask this. Any predictions for this matchup, not just for victors, but in terms of score lines as well?
I went for a little bit of sibling gambit, I think, here, Jess. I'm not going to go and say a team's going to win. I'm going to predict the scoreline as well. I think with knowing that Virtus.pro started out on attack here as well, that's a big risk, to be fair. And I think before the game coming into it, I probably would have said 7-3, 7-2 to Virtus.pro. On the fact they've chosen to start on attacking side, they'll probably look to concede 2 or 3 rounds there. I'm probably going to go for a 7-4 scoreline to Virtus.pro.
Okay.
Ooh, goodness me. Look, I am hoping that it's a 7-5 to VP. I think that's how it will go. And given their starting attack, I do give you a little bit of credit there, big bro. You know what you're talking about.
All right, well, let's see what people think about this watching from home. Of course, you guys can vote on this. You can go to our social media at R6 Esports EU. Virtus.pro takes the head 62% to 38% on Empire's side. So you can vote on every single one of these matches. That's for you to see later on socials. I highly recommend you go and kind of engage with us on all of this. We always want to hear what you guys think about it. But yeah, any final thoughts before we go to the game?
Nothing really. It's going to be a real slobber knocker is probably the best way I can describe it.
Jess,
I'm excited. I'm really excited. This is my favorite matchup of the night. So everyone needs to be here to watch this. Trust me.
Well, I hope so. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you're calling your grandma, telling her how much you love her, but also for her to come in and watch EU League. It's time for us to start with game number 1. It's Virtus.pro versus Team Empire, and it's Happen Geo taking the reins on game 1. Enjoy.
Thank you, Gassan, and well, the family of the goats to give us that short introduction. My name is Hap. With me is still Geo. Oh, other side, of course. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, there you are. There's Geo. And Geo, I think we're going up to an explosive match, aren't we?
I think we've been incredibly lucky to have been able to land ourselves what, as Jess kind of said, it's her favorite matchup of the night. I know a lot of people are looking forward to Rogue versus G2, but I have to agree that this one's the one that I'm the most stoked about.
Well, you know what? Why should we wait? Let's just straight up go into Clubhouse and see what's going to be happening here, who is going to be taking the initiative, and if Virtus.pro, their choice to start an attack was the right one.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. Virtus.pro, they're very decisive in how they like to go about their attacks. So that's going to be something to see how much they can keep that up, especially given that they're very good at being able to, predict what the defenders are going to do. That might be something that Team Empire falls short on. But let's see what it is they decide to go for their operator, pick, and bans.
Indeed, the operator pick and bans are, coming in right now. And it's kind of an important part of each match, of course. Some people might underestimate it, but it directly gives you the opportunity to counter out some of your opponents straight away. And as the Termite is getting banned, that is going to be setting the tone right here. Empire starting on the defense, does not want their walls to be opened up with that exothermic, basically forcing Virtus.pro to swap on that Maverick.
Well, that's kind of interesting because Amishan is a very good Maverick player. It's definitely something we've seen play quite a decent amount in the past. So I'm wondering if Empire may be thinking less about the fact that they think that might make them weak and more about the fact that they can predict a little bit better how Virtus.pro are going to play with the Maverick.
Now, the Capital also is going to get banned, of course, often used on this map to, aid in the actual takes or opening up that CCTV wall. The incendiary bolts really useful there. Mira also being removed, kind of a default ban nowadays in Europe. Something you really cannot live without, especially on a map like Clubhouse. And normally we would say Echo would be banned, but he has been taken out of the rotation due to a bug. Just just keep that in mind. You're not gonna see any of those bans to come in, so the Valkyrie is the one to be removed instead.
Yeah, and the interesting thing about that is, of course, it means that now you have the option to have an extra, intel gathering operator essentially be taken away from you. Because not only do you no longer have to choose between the Echo and the Valkyrie, but you can actually have both. And one thing that Virtus.pro have been very good at, as I said before, predicting a lot of those roamer positions, especially, is a real threat to Joystick and Dan on the side of Team Empire. And so the fact that Team Empire have the option to get rid of that should be able to provide them with a little bit more security in a lot of their defending rounds.
Definitely so indeed. And well, if we look back at the history between these two, they of course played in the European Open Clash, where it was a 2-0 I believe for Virtus.pro up against Empire. But they also played in the Russian Major League Finals, didn't they, Gia?
Yeah, the Russian Major League Finals, it was an interesting one. Virtus.pro won 3-0. One of those rounds was a bye because they came in through the winner's bracket. So they actually only played 2 maps, and those maps were Consulate and Villa, which, funnily enough, Consulate kind of known as being the best map on the side of Virtus.pro, and Villa known as being the worst on the side of Team Empire. So what you kind of have to consider about this is Virtus.pro went into that game with an advantage, which suggests there may have been things that Team Empire were hiding. They didn't want to give things away. They just wanted to play on their weaker maps because that meant that they could save things here for the EU League. So even though it was a very decisive victory, you have to question how much that actually says about what we're going to see today.
And that is something that we need to keep in mind all the time. Of course, the EU Open Clash was, of course, not really a tournament with a lot of prize money. It's just playing for charity, so it's always kind of hard to get the right prognostics out of that one. In the meantime, Emission opening up that wall with the upside down rappel. You already see Shepard right here trying to contest the vertical angle. As soon as this will be opened up, you can expect a few quick shots from the TCSG to come through. Trying to go for it there, but he's going to be spotting out that feet. Just, there we go. The tank's coming through. You got to be careful because if you get down on a rappel, you're instantly dead. There is no down to come through, so you really need to be careful about that one.
You can actually see both Shepard and Joystick are really ready for those early entry points as Joystick is situated downstairs. Ready, watch out for that Sophia, and there we go. Mission going down straight away. That's going to be pretty dangerous there for Virtus.pro as they are a team who like to make quick plants and they like to protect Emision when he is doing that. Team Empire know exactly that is the way they like to frag, and having gotten rid of him early should give them the advantage in this fight so far.
Definitely so. They got the entry frag with that as well. There's going to be 2 frag grenades as well removed from the board. They are no longer able to be used. With that, it all comes down to Rask if they want to get these M67s behind enemy lines, able to potentially get people out of their dug-in positions. In the meantime, the flanks are being watched. WTG is getting his drone into a position for a mission to make sure that Joystick, who is playing down here on that roam, is not going to be able to sneak through all undetected. And with that, they might be able to bounce back at some time. Grenade being cooked right here, hoping to get the kill from below. We need to get some more information about where the players are actually located at, as Rask is actually going to get tagged up right here from the player in launch. Spotted him on his drone, wasn't able to actually get the kill in return.
And WTG, he's just backed up a little bit. He knows that that ping is waiting there for him, but smoke upstairs is going to slow things down a little bit, and instead he's not going to be going straight in for it. Joystick, still running around downstairs, does provide a threat, and right now the construction wall is able to be open, which means these key channels have been opened here by Virtus.pro. Trades going in and out so far, with both Dan and Rask falling, and that puts this in a 3 versus 4 for Virtus.pro.
Yeah, right now it's going to be the last 3 members of Virtus.pro to try and get these kills in here. It's Shockwave to get the first one onto Joystick, who just came back behind the shield. Pasha then to follow up as well. And Cypher is going to get tagged up. In the meantime, the diffuser is going to be going down. C4 from below will cancel that, though, at the very last second. They need to get on it now, but Shepard is ready to actually deny that. And that means Empire will be picking up that first round, even though it almost seemed to be going the way of Virtus.pro as soon as they got those entries in the execute onto Cash.
Virtus.pro really had to make a lot of changes throughout that round. Of course, we saw the diffuser kind of been juggled around between a great many of their players, and Shockwave really didn't have that much time at the end there. It was just a great C4 there from Shepard, sorry, at the end. And he's really one of these players who you want to be looking out for. He's kind of known as one of the star players on Team Empire, one of the best supports, you could argue, in EU. And after this kind of almost fall from grace that Team Empire have had in 2020 so far, it's things like that you want to be looking out for that suggest that the coordination is there between them. Now, as Derry said at the start, this is one of those teams that kind of, they have their way that they like to do things, and they're very strategical, and they like to bring sort of the same strategy round and round again. And one thing we've seen from Virtus.pro is they're very good at adapting based on what happened on the previous round. So even though we have gone to a different site here, don't be too quick to assume that Team Empire have everything together, because I think Virtus.pro have proven to us in recent times that they're definitely a team who can take a loss on a round and they can turn it into a win.
So we're still playing on a defense-sided map, of course. Like a 4-2 for the defense is nothing too strange to see, really. And, well, Virtus.pro did come quite close. The main issue here being that Shepard was right below on launch basically the entire round and wasn't even dealt with whatsoever, and due to that was able to get C4 out and also put some pressure from below. And like, if they would have just sent one guy over there to try and challenge that, it could have been a completely different round. But fact being, Empire won it on the back of Shepard right there with some huge plays, taking out a mission to start off with and also denying that diffuser to go down. They are now going down into the basement, and a shockwave is being droned in. They will be taking care of the pest, just to make sure that they are going to be able to get the information that they require to go for an eventual push in about 2 minutes from now.
Yeah, and as you say, they are going to have to be aware of not only Joystick, not only those roamers, but also Shepard. They've been very used to, thus far, having to look out for Joystick and Dan. You can't discount those other players. Pretty much all of them, I think all 5 of them, based on the bottom 4 here. And Dan here getting ready with that C4, just in case they have any sign of anyone above them. And this is just a sign of Team Empire being very quick to react. They know that Virtus.pro are going to have to go in through the kitchen. They just want to be sure that they can catch them when they do.
Now, be aware there is currently 2 C4s available on Empire. There's also 4 impact grenades they have available to them. So they are really turtling down right here. The plan that Virtus.pro has is make sure that the walls do not open, the hatches do not open, and try to pick them up as they go. 1 C4 already expended though. Dan trying to get the kill while only one of his members in the kitchen. Unfortunately, dealt little to no damage. And Rask is just going to be free to open up even more. All these lines of sight available to him, just so they can, well, basically challenge anybody who would like to go for an impact trick onto that kitchen hatch. There we go, the spots are coming down, and now they know they cannot trick that anymore. The kitchen hatch has been opened up, and in the meantime, a mission is going to be opening up into dirt to set up their second entry point.
Now, of course, all these lines of sight, as you say, have been opened in, but all 10 members are still alive on the board, and we have less than a minute remaining, which means that regardless of what Virtus.pro do now, they're going to have a fight on their hands. Team Empire, well, they're a team that know how to handle themselves in a fight, but Virtus.pro obviously have been these gunners of late. Question is, are they going to be able to win out in these scenarios as they start to breach into the site here? There goes the frag grenade, not going to get anything, and in fact it's going to be Joystick who gets the opening kill of the round onto Pasha, and things are starting to go backwards and forwards. Dan going to be going down as well, and suddenly things are looking very scary here for Team Empire as the diffuser goes down, and this leaves Shepard and Joystick on their own to try and figure out what they're going to do. Have to get those kills, and Mishan's going to be falling, and that means WTG is the last one. He's going to try and plant himself, but time runs out, and Team Empire take the round.
Decided to not give the CGG pat as he went for it, but then realized there's no time anyway. He just cancels it out and wants to go into the next round as soon as possible, which is, of course, Geo going to be Gym and Bedroom. Now, for many, a side that is quite comparable to CCTV Cash. Now, what do you think of that?
You know, I think Gym Bedroom is an interesting site because you often see a different kind of choice of operators be brought here. In fact, we're seeing the Alibi who's going to be brought instead of that Goyo, actually, which they have been playing so far. And oftentimes you do see a Goyo get played. Oh, well, there we go. They're actually 6-picking back onto Goyo. You see the Goyo get played a lot because you can place the shield, for example, on the master bed. Makes it very hard to, there we go, come in through that window. You have to clear it out. I I'm a fan of seeing this site, but it's definitely an option of taste, I think. I'm always very interested to see how players decide to play around that bathroom wall. Some like to leave it soft, some like to leave it reinforced to see if you can get a good angle onto the jacuzzi wall so that as the attacking teams start to come on in, sometimes you can decide to be more aggressive about it, sometimes you can be more passive about it. Right now, it looks like they've only reinforced one of them, so potentially going to be going for that angle play.
They did, by the way, just see that beautiful replay. They just popped in our screen so we could relive the moment where the plant was just cancelled with a small time left. Heartbreaking.
So sad.
So sad. Yeah, beautiful. Then we actually get to see it. But round number 3 is underway, and this is the round where Virtus.pro needs to show that they are capable of winning these rounds. And well, I mean, they do get close to the actual site. It's just that they kind of struggle getting the players out of the, well, dug-in positions. Last time around it was dirt. This time around it will most likely be bathroom, possibly even the logistics office. As the mission yet again starting to open up right here. This time most likely we'll just complete the entire wall right here. Make it soft and allow rest to open that one up with a sledgehammer. Now, as you can see, there is no hole into the bathroom, and that will allow them to directly punch through into that hallway and maybe even take some control of it.
It's interesting, actually, I mentioned the wall earlier. They have reinforced both of the walls on the bathroom, which is going to make them a little bit safer from that regard. But of course, they've got to be watching out from other angles. Mission's just looking in to see if he can spot anyone, but not going to be able to so far. So in go those frag grenades. Try and clear out. Well, okay, Amisha's going to be going down, constantly falling to the C4 so far as Virtus.pro, and that leaves them 4 men on the board. Very early this round compared to the last.
You can see 4 being tossed in there. So I already saw the top wall being opened up, and you know that goes both ways. There's going to be an operator right behind that is going to be able to get that C4 in, but Virtus.pro is not being scared as of yet, as Joystick comes back up to the main stairs, hoping that he could go for a potential flank as soon as they want to execute for the actual gym site. It's going to be Rask that is looking to enter that, but he's not sure whether or not it's going to be safe or not. Grenade and Impact both being tossed into the Goyo there, not quite sure what that is good for. And is that one will be taken care of an Evil Eye, but it's quite some utility being used right here. They might have been able to use the one of those grenades onto the mute jumper that might be behind the bathroom.
Yeah, they have to be very careful. And this is where you're seeing one of these wide flanks the Joystick's become very known for. In fact, going straight out for a run out. Is he going to be able to get anyone? Yes, he is. That's Shockwave who's going to be falling, leaving just 3 on the side of Virtus.pro. Pasha has been able to pick up the diffuser, which allows them to begin to move on in, but they're going up against a full team Empire. Could this be the start of seeing something new and Empire picking themselves back up? Well, given that 2 members, in fact, make that 3 members of Virtus.pro falling at the end there, then yes, they will, and Empire take their 3rd round half.
Empire right here seem to be completely shutting down everything Virtus.pro is attempting to achieve. Something we're really not used to see from, well, the Russians of Virtus.pro. Back in the EOC, they were super frag heavy. They managed to gun themselves through everything, but you see now that strategy comes into play, and Empire has their setups ready for Virtus.pro. They seem to be able to, well, shut them down. Virtus.pro yet to find a round in this matchup. It's 0-3 currently for Empire. What can Virtus.pro do here if they don't really pick themselves up quickly? Because they chose the attack to start off with, so they really must have something up their sleeves for defense.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing here is, you know, we've all been hearing rumors about these various EU super teams and who's going to be the scariest, and lots of people saying Virtus.pro, they are terrifying. And one of the things that people have been mentioning is the fact they're so decisive, they're so fast, they're so aggressive, but it's a controlled aggression. They're not afraid to go in and run and gun. And so far, they've looked almost meek. They haven't been almost... It's kind of a combination of both playing a little bit more reserved, but also not necessarily expecting these kills to be coming in from the sort of, I want to say, less orthodox method of murder, i.e. things with C4s, where you're more expecting to have an angle held with a gun. And I suspect that they've been very, very... you know, much preparing for things like, okay, Joystick's looking better, so we got to watch out for our flanks. When actually Shepard's right there, and he's ready, holding an angle, holding a spot. and you've got to take care of him as well. And it's sort of like they've got to focus on everything at once rather than just deciding, okay, we've got to look at this guy. That's kind of how it feels like. It's still very early, and they can turn things around for sure. But given that, you know, they did so well in recent history and things started to really pick up for them at the end of last season, and even when they last played this map against this team, they won 7-2. This is not looking like the Virtus.pro we all expected.
Oh, and that might be what I was already thinking before. It could be, of course, not that I thought it was going to happen, but that Empire just completely, well, sacrificed the Russian Major League, something that has been theirs to brag with for basically seasons, and now they lost it to Virtus.pro. Maybe Virtus.pro starts to oh, there we go again. Shepard with the C4 into a mission. I'm not sure why the opening is being done like this. There's, you know, you can just stand whilst doing it, or crawl and be a bit more mobile, because the rappel limits your mobility right there, so I'm not really sure what the idea behind it is.
The thing with that is also they didn't have a Thatcher on rappel to be able to look through the hole that Maverick was making to see that the wall into Cash was open. There was no one there who was able to look for those things, and Mishan was just left on his own, which in and of itself is very uncharacteristic of this team, who typically like to almost play as the bodyguards to him so that he can make a decisive plan. In this case, obviously, Pash is holding the diffuser, but even so, it's very strange.
Yeah, because normally you have someone up on that rappel to at least take down a C4. Might it be tossed through if someone goes prone, but it's not going to be happening this time. In the meantime, we see Virtus.pro, like their men down, still trying to get their execute to be pushed through. Flashbangs are being tossed in, grenades as well, taking care of the shields. As all the utility of the defense is slowly being removed, you see the members now trying to set up. Impact trick failing once, failing twice. And with that, the constriction wall is now going to be opened up. So they at least have one opening to go with for these last 40 seconds to go through. Grenades being cooked, that will be tossed right into Dan. Going to get caught by the Magnet right there. Resk still going to be able to pick up that kill, though. We're back in a 4-on-4 due to that. Another line of sight being opened up right into Joystick, who's playing, well, on these red stairs right here. We'll be being a bit more aggressive onto the door, and as the 20-second mark strikes, we're about to see that final execute to come. Pasha, ready to jump in. The garage control is not there yet. First kill coming in. Rex will be able to pick that up. Wants to blow up the shield, but fails to do so. Shockwave, however, will be picking up Joystick. The plan now going down from Pasha. This could be the first round to go down for Virtus.pro. If they manage to stick it, there's going to be Rex that goes down. WTG that gets taken out. It's a 2-on-1 situation now. It's only up to Shepard, who needs to find both Pasha and Shockwave within 30 seconds and also get into that diffuse state.
Suddenly things have been turned around, but Shepard, he has been shining for the team thus far. He just needs to be sure that he's relying on the intel coming in from his team to see the pings on the board, but he doesn't entirely know where anyone is. Constantly trying to hold onto these angles, but he could end up being shot in the back. Shockwave waiting patiently. There is still time for Virtus.pro to move on in. Shepard, he gets Pasha, but is there going to be enough time for him to even be able to get the diffuser? I don't think so. This looks like Virtus.pro.
Nah, it's the round for Virtus.pro indeed. Like, he had to start defusing with 7 seconds left, but he went off it straight at the actual timer, went for the kills instead, and well, he will pat his stats, but the round is not going to be going to Empire, meaning Virtus.pro will finally get that first, and well, to be honest, they only need one more to have an actual good outcome for this first half to put themselves up in the driver's seat to go over to that defense and maybe take control from there.
Exactly, and that's why you never want to, you know, judge things too much off of the first 3 or so rounds, especially on a map like this where a 4-2 scoreline at the half is still, you know, a pretty good thing to have. But Virtus.pro, I mean, you mentioned it in that last round, they didn't put really any pressure on the garage. They didn't clear that out. The Wamai was sitting there, Scyther was sitting on the Wamai for quite a while in there. So, you know, they were really relying on the fact that they could hold their own in those gunfights, which is definitely something we've seen in the past, and that's why we saw so many members of Team Empire go down in quick succession. But had that not worked out for them, they still would have had this presence coming in from that side of the map from Team Empire that could have been a really big risk to them. And it makes you wonder whether they're, you know, having the right approach in the early part of that round, because at the end of the day, you can't always rely on the fact that you can aim and shoot a gun.
10 seconds left.
No, there's always a little bit more to that. You also, of course, need to play the strategical, the long game, and that often revolves around getting that diffuser planted. getting into the right position to actually cover that off for the longer side of things. But Empire, they're still in a 1-3 lead right here. Nothing is really lost yet. Virtus.pro is starting to get warmed up. It looked like that round was better than, well, the 3 combined that they played before. Might give them some motivation and some mental boost to continue for this one in church.
You say it looked better for them. I mean, you know, getting your first win is always a pretty good thing. And so hopefully they'll be able to apply this ability to adapt that they have been showing very recently. Don't want to be losing anyone to C4s particularly early. Amishan's gonna be, he's gonna be like, right guys, you know, you've got to protect me. Got to make sure that doesn't happen again. And hopefully they will be looking out for these players like Shepard and like Scyther. Taking a lot of damage there is Rask, and that could be pretty dangerous as he's not even finished opening up the floor. I don't even know if he's been able to make it into kitchen yet. Nope, the floor in kitchen is looking like it's got one little hole in it. So if he takes much more damage than that, then that could be pretty problematic for them.
And it was one of the 2 C4s that already has been expended. Always just tossing it up right there. Blind fire C4. Almost managed to actually land the kill into Rask with that one. They have, however, opened up tons of vertical angles right here, especially in the hallway. Possibly able... Oh. Okay, it doesn't help if you impact yourself there, Shockwave, but he also says it gives a little bit of a shake. Instead, we'll be rotating down the main stairs to hit it like that. No more risks taken. The fire comes out of that Vulcan, as the spots are also following up on that. I'm hoping to pick up Dan right there. He's just dancing around that third entrance, but so far, they're not going to be able to find anybody as of yet. Just holding all these angles then with the C4, the second C4 to come down. Resk now finally secured. Might be a bit overkill for someone that wasn't 1 HP. Impact trick not really happening, but actually getting the kill on Pasha. And the hatch, however, did get open. But I mean, I would say if you get a kill with an impact, that's way more worth it than actually getting the hatch closed.
Basically, getting any kill that doesn't result in a trade is a good thing for you. And, you know, if Empire want to make their new name as being the team who get all their kills via projectiles and throwables, then so be it. If that means that they can climb back up to the top and they can hold themselves up here in one of these super teams that they used to be held so highly, then that's all right with them. But WTG is starting to turn things around a little bit, as always does be the next to fall. But there's only 2 members of Virtus.pro left. The plant hasn't been made, and there's 16 seconds remaining. They're not even on the correct floor, and they know that they're going to have to jump down if they are to get any of these kills. With Scyther bringing down Amishan, it looks pretty hopeless here for WTG. All he can hope to get is a kill, but instead it looks like it's going to hold the angle behind him, play his life a little bit more, but regardless, Team Empire are going to be the team to take it.
Hey, I mean, like, Empire right here, playing it well, getting all those kills with those C4s and the Pokeballs, of course, making sure they start collecting on their Pokedex. It's never too late to start with that, and they started out with a Pasha. Pretty rare one, so to say. It's not Pasha Biceps, you know, we also used to play under Virtus.pro, but it's the actual Rainbow Six Pasha one. But yeah, it's full 1 right now. There's one more opportunity for Virtus.pro to pick up around here, Gio, and I think it's quite an important one.
Well, yeah, I mean, we mentioned how this is one of those maps where ideally you want to be finishing with a 4-2. You have it at a 5-1, and then suddenly your enemy is going to be the one switching on over to the other side. Then, you know, that could be a little bit questionable, a little bit concerning. And Virtus.pro, with being such an aggressive team, you would assume that they feel very confident on the attack. I mean, when you look at the statistics from last season, Pasha he had the most plants and the most clutches, the most 1vx's for this team. And so far, he's just looking a little bit stifled. He's really been that player who has kind of stood out as, oh, this is the guy who's really scary. And I mean, this whole team is scary, but Pasha's particularly scary. But watching this series so far, Hap, would you say he's looked scary?
Pasha?
Yeah.
Not yet, really. Like, he's not been in the position where he can go completely ham yet. Did get one plant down, giving him down. They eventually won the round due to that, of course, as well. You still need to keep it in mind right here. Like, Pasha not really been in the position where he could go in, just run and gun. Something that, for example, Shockwave, Joystick, actually, on the side of Empire has been, well, he's been more free to play. hasn't been shut down really by the likes of Virtus.pro, and it's always like a dangerous thing to let him live and let him do his own thing. So let's hope that mission this time does not get C4'd into oblivion, and hope for him that he gets the wall open without any further harm to go to him. I've seen many C4 kills, many projectile kills, as you said. Can only set us up for a good future with the M67 frags to go up to the likes of Empire. As that default flank is being created by Joystick just to take one gun off of this bathroom wall, just to hold it.
Well, so far, Mission's been able to survive. I don't want to speak too soon.
He's ready. You see that? It's going to go through.
EMP. But are we going to see? They're just waiting. And look, everybody's here. They're all here because they want to try and get a trade if anything is to happen. And so Empire are playing it a little bit more. There we go!
That's a drone hole. Shepard through the ankle holes right there, through the actual door, and actually managing to get it through the drone hole. C4 being tossed in now as well. Half HP worth of damage towards Rest, but they need to go for the execute soon. There's 1 minute 20 left on the clock. It's still plenty of time. The grenade will make sure that the player will be taken care of. Also, we'll use one of his magazines of the SMG right there. No kill from the C4 this time, but the ankles of WPG definitely not happy with that one. As we're leading into that last minute, it is going to be Virtus.pro that know that you'd be losing their life shortly, as that picks up Shockwave right there from that window. Mission being challenged right there from CCTV. They just not at comfort anytime here. Like, they're constantly being harassed by the likes of Empire. Either it's a C4 coming through or an impact or someone coming up in your flank. As you see right there, it's Pasha with one to respond onto Joystick, but it's only him and a mission left right now in a 2-on-4 situation with 30 seconds left to try and get one more round in. The white swing from Always to come in. The SMG reigning supreme, and it's only up to a mission now. For once, not the entry death. Managed to get the down onto Always to start things off, but he will not come much further than that. It's Shepard to get the last kill and Empire to get the round.
Just an absolute brutal punishment being brought down onto Virtus.pro there. And I think the really interesting thing about this is that so far we've just assumed Virtus.pro were really going to be the pace setters. They were going to be the ringleaders. But no, they're playing to the tune of Team Empire. And it's interesting because they mentioned on the analyst desk at the start that Team Empire had lost all of the games of Clubhouse that they played in the last 6 months. But it had been banned against them 12 times. They have had somewhat of a reputation for being good at this map. And yes, I said that this team, back when they were 4s, they did beat Team Empire on this map 7-2 back on Playday 4 of Season 11. But suddenly it's looking like Empire are actually knowing exactly what to do. It's like they've kind of knuckled down, they know where they are again. And one thing that we do have to, remember about this team is this isn't the exact same roster that they were playing with last season. They've brought in Always. Karjeka is out. Now, obviously, he was a very, very good support player and some really big shoes to fill, especially as Always is not the most experienced of players. He played on a team in the Russian Major League group stages, then he was picked up by 4s, and then he was picked up by Empire. And the only tournament that he's been on this roster for has been the EU Open Clash. So he's very new to it, but it's clearly working for them. Whether it's just that feeling of refreshment, whether it's because he specifically is providing something that Karjeka just didn't, whether it's just, sometimes a roster needs a switch up. Maybe it's not even that at all, but the point is Empire have made some changes and it's working for them.
Definitely is changing. They seem a bit more fluent in their defense as well. Joystick, of course, just running around, getting his roams and like his stalling of time. They're a little bit more vertical right now, I would say, compared to Virtus.pro. Virtus.pro is the one that failed to adapt really throughout that first half, and Empire managed to basically get the fruits from that. Able to pick up the kills, able to pick up the rounds, and only losing out one to Virtus.pro. But we have to mention defense side of map here, especially with the elimination of Echo, Valkyrie, and Mira. It's going to be really hard for you to get that side under control. Of course, normally you always see that Mira bend, but when there's 3 of these high impactful operators, especially for this map, it is, I would say easy for the attack, but I just completely negated my own point here. Nice.
Well, Mishan is desperately looking with that cardiac sensor to see who he can see above, and he's going to go in for the C4 kill this time. Is he going to be able to recreate what his enemies have been able to do? No, he's not. Not going to be able to get anyone, and desperately Virtus.pro are going to be holding on to this defense as Team Empire, well, we've seen a lot of pings coming up on the board so far, so they probably have a relatively good idea of where everyone is. That's why you see these constant shootings of the drone. Virtus.pro need to deny as much of that intel as they possibly can, and so far they've been unable to do anything to stop Team Empire.
Definitely have been struggling, trying to open up the hatches. They try to deny that instead with the impacts as well. The question is, will it be this time? No, again, it's going to get opened up. Only 2 pellets will explode, but you need 3, I believe, to get the hatch opened up. So, bit unlucky.
Still be able to have a little bit of an angle in there. It's not ideal, especially as Dan is now completely out of those X-Kairos. Typically use them all to open up those hatches on this map. And then typically you would, of course, bring the Thermite to go for the walls. Not available this time. That's why we are seeing that Maverick being played so much. Speaking of, he is trying to open up the church wall here. Just has to be sure that he's not going to be shot through it, which is something that we saw happen quite a bit. And that's why we've got Scyther coming up behind, because he can try and hold on to those angles should anyone from behind the wall try to shoot into Empire.
30 seconds left in the meantime, and the execute seems to start. His joystick to start things up, taking care of Shockwave. There's going to be a frag grenade to be cooked in now. Then in the meantime to respond to a mission as well. Frag grenade going through, instant kill into Pasha. Joystick, however, getting down, but it's only WTG left to try and keep this going for the likes of Virtus.pro. It won't happen. Scyther is there, and a flawless ramp for Empire to start off their attack. And well, if you're on Virtus.pro right now, and if you're a VP fan, you definitely have to start worrying now, because 5 more rounds. There's 5 match points here for Empire. And that means not a single mistake anymore can be made by Virtus.pro if they at least want to get 1 point in today.
It's pretty, concerning when your opponent's able to acquire a flawless round after, not even being able to open up that kitchen hatch, for example, having these things happen against them that you would think would mitigate or at least hold them back enough to cause them such a problem that you could take advantage of that scenario. But not once were Virtus.pro able to be able to get a kill. They just aren't pushing. They're not being forward as we would expect them to. I've said it already, but that's what it's kind of looking like. Now we're seeing them go back to the same site, but changing things up a little bit. A mission, for example, no longer going to be on the pulse. Apparently that cardiac sensor did not do enough for them. Instead going to be playing the castle and potentially being able to waste a little bit more of Empire's utility, force them into certain routes. And we're also seeing Rask here on the Vigil, which I don't believe he was playing in that last round. But given that they've got these impact nades, maybe they'll be able to prevent those breaches being made once again, perhaps a little bit more successfully than last time. But also we see those proximity mines are going to be placed as well. And that should give Virtus.pro a lot more intel based on where Empire are. And of course, give Empire a little bit more to think about, a little bit more concern to have as they have less freedom as they push down onto the team.
I am more amazed about the fact that we see the first Oryx to come in competitive play right here.
Yeah. It's kind of not, not what we're used to seeing, but I guess that means that potentially maybe we'll see them start in the basement and then he'll be able to jump up and go for a flank as Empire start to move down the stairs, because of course there was no one really in the last round to sneak up behind them as they all started coming down the stairs and getting those shots in onto the site.
You gotta remember, of course, that it basically, first you only have to hold off stairs. As soon as Oryx comes into play, you also need to take care of all the hatches that are in the map. And that is going to be making it a lot harder to make sure that no roam, no flank is actually going to be coming through. So you really have to cut the places where you will be flank holding a bit closer to where the action is actually happening. Pasha is playing on the Oryx. Of course, also received a little buff. Only takes 5 damage now instead of 10 when busting through a wall. So a bit more efficient at making rotates for himself now without actually having to have a shot nearby to keep stemming him up. In the meantime, Joystick will be trying to put some pressure, taking care of one of those castle barricades, knowing that Shockwave is near. Might be caught off guard right here as it gets spotted out by the drone. But no, he will drop through the hatch. Oh, actually, Dan was ready to pick him up right there and did so effectively.
Yeah, that's some real vigilance being shown there by Team Empire. And Dan, of course, not going to be traded out, which means he can continue to hold on here. Here comes in another 1v1. It's going to be Scyther winning that out as Pasha falls down. And once again, this is that really scary player who we were looking at not only getting good trades, good kills, but being able to play the flank on that Oryx. And evidently that's not going to be available anymore. So Virtus.pro suddenly going to have to start rethinking things. Especially as, you know, they've only really got Rask on the map who can play that sort of flank role now anymore, as the other two are likely to be based downstairs.
Definitely has some bullet holes here still to work with, but as he punches in the door right now, what was spotted out, managed to drop down the diffuser at least. Dan taken care of. He's at least going to give away his position now, but we'll rotate back all the way down to the actual site. With that, hoping to waste some valuable time, as right now, I mean, he did take down that Hibana, and if they didn't open up the kitchen hatch before, they're definitely not going to do that now. Meaning they will have to force themselves through the actual main stairs, but his Scyther does that perfectly by taking down WTG, going for a wallbang, almost hitting out on a mission right there as well. The proximity alarm is going to be telling them they're coming in from the motorcycle. It's going to be Joystick to pick up Rask, a mission with a double kill though, to try and keep them alive. Gets the triple kill, and knows that the last one is coming from motorcycle. Is he going to be able to pick this one up? Needs to reload on his UMP, but he gets taken out. It's Empire to win the first match of the season with a 7-1, and well, brother and sister Goats were not right in this one, as they thought 7-1, 7-3, something like that to come through for the likes of VP. It's going to be the complete opposite. It's Empire to take it all home, and they will be topping off the leaderboards for today, and I doubt anybody will set up a better round differential than they just did.
I am incredulous. I think almost everybody expected Virtus.pro to win. They thought we were going to see this amazing gunmanship that we've been hearing about from players saying scrims this and people, you know, theory crafting about this and what we saw in the EOC in the Russian Major League. But what we saw today was not the team that we expected to. And more importantly, from Team Empire, what we saw was a little glimpse of what we saw back when they came in from Challenger League Season 8, when they took the Raleigh Major, when they took Pro League Season 9, and now maybe this could be a season again that we start to see the old Team Empire that we know and love.
Yeah, it might be a bit early to say they're definitely back, but it's definitely showing some good signs right here that we might be able to work on for the rest of the season. They seem to be showing some flexibility right here, even though if they lose a Hibana, they just brute force themselves through with their, well, pure aggression that they have. But well, many expected this round and this matchup to actually go differently right here, but eventually Empire was the ones to be victorious. They take the 3 points home, and with that, they are also, well, with the 7-1 round differential, I think they're secured for first place today.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty hard to see that going any better. But I'm so curious to know what the analysts think. Milos, take it away.
Okay. Apparently you're muted on VMix, by the way.
Yes,
So that must be nothing. And just so you guys know what he was saying, he was calling me out, right, for my prediction about the whole attacking thing. Yeah, he was extremely toxic, by the way. You guys didn't need to hear that. But absolutely, I'm as shocked as anyone else is, right? Like, coming out the gate, we saw a mission constantly trying to be the guy at the wall on the Maverick, trying to get things open. And Empire were like, no. C4 sailing through every single round. Shepard being the guy in the dying seconds of every single round, being there to pick up the pieces. Virtus.pro just lacked the... It's almost like having a tank and you don't put the side armor on the side, right? Every single time there was just something that Empire could do to upset them, stop them executing what they wanted to. And Empire didn't even have to change. They just did the same thing round after round when we came around to the same side, of course. And Virtus.pro just couldn't react.
It's a very weird VP watching them this way, Jess, because we went through them in EOC and Russian Major League and their performance online in the past season, and this looked like they had never played this map. I mean, we were talking about how effective they were on Clubhouse in the last 4 times that they played it recently.
If I'm Team Empire right now, and probably when the match started up, they were ready to go. They were wary of every side push. And then VP decided that they would undertake, 5 or so rounds straight of one-dimensional attacking pushes. It was actually very sad because they didn't pinch the site almost ever. And when they did manage to get a plant down, that was one round. All of the rest of the rounds, it took them an entire 2 minutes 30 to even get close to looking like they were going to execute. And when they did, Team Empire had been sitting in one spot, especially their anchors, for almost the entire round. They didn't move. They didn't even have to look behind them because all 5 of the VP players were pushing one-dimensionally. So that was really sad to see. I hope VP wake up a bit because that was not the VP we know.
Yeah, it was very frustrating to watch at certain times as well. But well, our wonderful boy and girl at Hap and Geo were talking about our rankings for the day, and maybe Empire will actually secure themselves at number 1 at the end of the day because of the round differential. Maybe that'll happen later, but we'll take a look at the rankings. We have those ready for you, and of course, with Empire's victory and with the format that we use in this best of 1 series, they get 3 points with that 7-1 victory. So that's the 1 W that they need, and they also get the 6-round differential that's required later on.
Yeah, Empire currently sat in the spot where they are officially the best team in Europe. It might change in future games, but it's at least a title they can hold on to for now. And just to give, I counted it up as that went on as well. Like, one thing to note is that Virtus.pro got 16 kills across those rounds. 8 rounds, 16 kills. Where were the boys? What was going on? Where's the team that we saw in the EOC? And I'll give them some first day jitters. Josh, you touched on this earlier on. I'll give them a little bit and say, you know what? It's first day. Let's give them till Wednesday and see how they stack up then. But they cannot keep on playing like this. You cannot afford to be dropping points this early because, as we all now know, this starts bubbling up towards a major or towards the global standings. Every game counts.
Yeah.
I have to agree there. And look, before we go, Milosh, I know you have to throw it off, but for those who don't know what round differential means, this is what we use in order to be able to tell who is better than the other, even if they've got the same amount of wins. So if they win 7-1, there's a difference of 6 rounds between them. That gets added to their tally, and that's how we work out, even if people are tied on wins, ties, draws, losses, etc. That's how we work out who is technically better than the rest. So if you're hearing those words and you don't know what they mean, that's what we mean by that one.
Yep, and we'll be explaining more about that once we have more points up on that ranking board. We'll have to continue, though, afterwards. But for now, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back for another banger of a game as there's 4 more left in this Playday. See you in a couple minutes.